What's going on, Tamers? It is me, proud Digimon card game player, and I say that because today we got some massive news from Bandai in one of their Metaverse lobby events. The matchmaking features various lobbies where you can play online using a webcam over here in the Asia region, but also it featured a special room where they were doing an announcement for the third year of the Digimon card game. In this room, they had about a 40-minute presentation of some of the new things that are coming up in the next competitive year for the game, if you're into that sort of thing. And they gave us a bombshell of announcements. And today, what I'm going to do is we're going to take all those announcements from that 40-minute presentation and condense them down into this short video. So in here, we've got 3 big announcements to talk about, so let's hop into it. Alright, so this first big announcement is already going to be a big one with all the fans out there, and it is that, yes, we are going to have an official Mulligan rule for the game now. Keep in mind, this has only been announced for the JP version of the game, but I'm pretty sure that the English version is going to follow suit. I think that you guys are already trying out the Mulligan with the Evo Cups over there in the States, although I think the rule set's going to be tweaked a little bit. So, a bit of information about the Mulligan. First off, it's going to be taking effect, at least in the Asia region, May 1st. Second of all, there is no downside for choosing to Mulligan, and keep in mind that you can only Mulligan one time in your game. If you're playing a match where it's like best of 3, I'm not sure how that works out again. Asia is typically a best of 1 region, and so when we talk about best of 3, I'm not sure if they're going to make it so that you can only Mulligan one time in the match, or if it's just once per game. As a result of this Mulligan taking effect and becoming an official rule in the game, the flow of the beginning of the game is going to change a little bit. Now currently the way it is, or at least as far as my understanding is concerned, is that you shuffle and cut, set your security first, then you draw your hand for 5 RPS to see who goes first, and then you start the game. Under the new Mulligan rules, according to the presentation they gave, it would look like this. You shuffle and cut first, then you do RPS to see who's going to go first, then you draw your hand of 5 cards without setting security at all, and you choose if you want to Mulligan or not. Unlike other games, I don't think there's actually a downside to using your Mulligan. Your opponent doesn't draw an extra card or anything like that, or you don't draw one less card as far as I've read. One thing to keep in mind is that the way the Mulligan works is actually to your advantage. So when you look at your first hand, if you don't like it, you put the cards back in the deck, you shuffle the deck up. You don't simply put them at the bottom, you shuffle the deck up, and then you draw 5 more cards. Which is really good because I think in the past we've had situations where they wanted to implement a Mulligan, but they said you had to take the cards from your opening hand, put them at the bottom of the deck in any order, and then just draw 5 more cards, which honestly is kind of terrifying. If your first hand was like super top heavy, so all your level 6s are suddenly just bottom decked in, unless you're running Beelzemon, you're probably not going to see them again. So with that, Digimon players, rejoice. If you have a bad starting hand, that is not the end of it. Oh my god, you can actually play the game. I'm so happy about this. The second big announcement is a new mechanic that adds strategic depth to the game and gives us new ways to play that we've never done before. And that is going to be the introduction of counter timing. So you're probably wondering, what does that even mean? Like, how does this even apply to the game? So there's a new keyword effect called counter, where you can use cards from your hand as an effect. And as a result of this new counter keyword effect, we now have a counter timing in between attacks. So let's take a look at the new attack flow as a result of this counter timing being introduced to the game. So imagine we have player 1, player 2. Player 1 declares an attack with one of their Digimon, and then at that time they can use their when attacking effects. And then once all those when attacking effects have resolved, the defending player's counter timing window opens. They can use those cards that have the counter keyword effect in them from either their hand or maybe in the future, maybe even on board. Keep in mind that the defending player only activates a counter effect once per attack, so you can't just like go crazy with counter cards to like just completely roll over your opponents with just defense. Once all cards with the counter keyword effect have been resolved, then the defending player can choose blockers. And then once that's done, you're going to either compare DP if it's a battle between 2 Digimon, or do a security check in the case it's a security attack. If you've been playing the game recently, then you know that offense is very powerful right now, and with these new counter keyword card effects, I'm really excited to see how defense develops and how the game becomes more strategically fun as we go into the future. So the third big announcement from this presentation introduces a new kind of Digimon into the game never seen before, and that is Ace Digimon. The new starter decks being introduced over here in Asia feature some of these new Ace Digimon. These Digimon are all denoted by having Ace at the end of their name, and they all have really low play costs and really powerful effects. All of the Ace Digimon showed off in this presentation all had the new Blast Digivolve effect, which acts as a free Digivolve essentially. And if you're probably wondering, well, if they have a 6 cost play cost, and they have a 0 cost evolution cost, and they have really powerful effects, there surely has to be a downside, and you are absolutely correct. So there's a downside to these cards called Overflow. Whenever these cards are removed from the board in any way, whether they are the active Digimon out there, or they are removed from your sources, you suffer what's called an Overflow penalty. And this Overflow penalty differs based on the cards, but what we've seen so far is that you get a memory minus effect. Let's take a look at some examples of the new Ace cards that they've released so far. So let's first take a look at the new War Greymon Ace card, which is featured in the Black starter deck being released in May. Again, you see really low play cost for a level 6 at just 6 here, which is insane. And it does have a pretty typical Digivolve cost, but I don't think you're going to be using this cost very much. And that's because you can see the translated effects over here on the left side. From your hand, on counter timing, you can burst Digivolve for 0, which means you can just Digivolve one of your black cards for 0 defensively. To make this even better, this card also has blocker. So once this card is played, and if you remember from what I said before, after your counter timing window closes, or all their effects are resolved, then you can declare blockers. So what you can do is you can Digivolve from some Digimon who doesn't have blocker into this guy, and then you can use him to block. Additionally, really powerful effect here, very, very strong defensive effect. On both turns, once per turn, when either player's security is removed or lowered, you unsuspend this Digimon. So you can use this offensively or defensively in 2 cases. So let's imagine that, again, you're the defending player and they attack and you block with your War Greymon, and then they attack with another Digimon to your security. Suddenly this War Greymon ace becomes unsuspended and you can block again. Meanwhile, on offense, if this guy just attacks security, again, that is a player's security being removed, then you can just unsuspend him and attack again. Keep in mind, this is once per turn, so you can't just like go crazy. And then right above where this card's inheritance effects would be, you see the ace overflow penalty. Now, again, when this card is removed from the battle area or from under a card as a source, then memory -4. So the one question that I have is, I don't know if you suffer the ace penalty if you were to Digivolve this guy from a level 5 normally by paying the actual 3 cost. I would assume no, but again, I haven't seen any rulings anywhere. Again, this information is like hot off the press, so I don't imagine it's out there anywhere. But if you do know the answer to this, please let me know in the comments below. And the second and final ace card we're going to take a look at today is the new Metal Garurumon ace card, which is the star of the purple starter deck coming out in May here as well. Similarly to the War Greymon, 6 play cost, very, very low for level 6, as well as a 3 cost Digivolve cost. But this guy also has the counter burst Digivolve effect to Digivolve for 0. And then once you Digivolve this guy, you can discard up to 3 cards from your hand, and by doing so, for every card you discard, you gain a memory. This is cool because if your opponent has less than 3 memory whenever they make an attack, they get that 1 attack off and then their turn is over. And then on offense, you see this guy has the when attacking effect. You can discard 1 card from your hand, and by doing so, you can delete one of your opponent's lowest level Digimon on the field. That's an incredibly powerful effect, holy crap. And then again, like the War Greymon before, you do have the overflow penalty where when this card's removed from the board in any way, either as an active Digimon or as a card sources, then you suffer the overflow penalty of -4 memory. And so that's going to be it for the 3 big announcements that we got out of that Bandai presentation. Keep in mind they did announce a bunch of other stuff, a lot of things about the 2023 timeline for the competitive circuit for Digimon leading up to the World Championships next March. But that information was just for Asia and the JP version of the game. We didn't get any information, unfortunately, for the English version of the game, so you guys might have to be a little bit more patient on that. But man, it's gotta feel good if you're a Digimon card game player to see Mulligan being announced as a rule to the game, the new defensive mechanics being introduced, as well as the really cool and really interesting ace mechanics that we're going to get over here in May. It really feels like Bandai is listening to their fan base and doing the things that they can to make the game more fun and more interesting for everybody. Let me know in the comments what your folks' favorite announcement was out of all the ones we got from this presentation down in the comments below. Anyway, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.